What's up guys, it's Rowan here from ATAR Smart TV. And I still remember the day that I got my ATAR back, because I was freaking out. Like, I really wanted to go and study a law degree at Sydney University. And to do that, I needed a cutoff of 99.6. Nothing less, right? Like, if I didn't get that, no dice. And so I remember opening my laptop, waiting, and my heart was just like palpitating. I was so anxious about what the outcome was going to look like. Now, I opened the laptop, the screen loaded, and there it was, right? The number was 99.6. That's right, I got the exact cutoff. And I was so incredibly grateful because I'd thrown everything at year 12, the kitchen sink and all, in the hope that I'll get that cutoff. And when I graduated, like, the cutoff was strict. You either got it or you didn't. If you got it, you were in. If you didn't, you were out. I don't know if there's so many students, right? You can do so much hard work during year 12 and then get to the end of year 12 and be unlucky, Like, I consider that I was lucky. Like, I could have got a 99.5. I could have missed it by 0.1. I could have been out of that dream that I had. And so you can do so much work and you can miss out. And so what I want to look at in this video is, well, what happens in that instant? What do you do when you do all the hard work, you get the result back, and it's not what you were hoping for? And it's not going to enable you, on face value, to choose the course in the university you want to do. So let's jump in and find out what you can do. So what should you do in this instance? Well, the first thing that you should do is to actually pause and take a deep breath. And that's really important because initially when you get this ATAR and it's not what you want, it's really easy to get really overwhelmed and to think, oh no, I'm not going to have options. What am I going to do? I'm a failure. I'm not going to go to uni. I'm not going to be able to do my pathway. And it's really easy to start catastrophizing, to start actually playing out a cycle of things that may not even happen. So first step, when you get that ATAR back, you're going to want to emotionally respond to it, and that's okay. But just know that take a deep breath. And then another one, it's going to help you just find your center so that you can move from being overwhelmed into a position where you can start to think intentionally, and here's the thing, strategically, about what you're going to do to still maximize your options for university. So that's step number one. So number two, once you've taken that deep breath and you've found your center, it's now time to start thinking strategically. And the thing you've got to realize here is that the government has changed the way that your university applications work. In the past, universities had capped numbers of students they could take. It's why the ATAR existed. If they could only take 200 students, they needed to work out which 200 to take, and so the ATAR existed to rank students to work out which 200 they should offer a course to. Now, the Australian government cut some funding for universities, and in return they said, we're going to move to a demand-driven model of students. So that means that universities can actually take as many students as demand and their infrastructure can support. So all of a sudden in the past, while they might only have been able to take 200 students for a course, it could be 500 students this year. So it means that the ATAR becomes a lot more flexible because from the university's point of view, they can actually take more students. And so what you'll now see is if you go to uac.edu.au or any of the, if you're watching this from across Australia, any of the University Admission Centre's websites, you'll often now see an ATAR range. And that range is, okay, here's the guaranteed entry, right? Here's the ATAR you need if you really want to get in, but here's the lowest cutoff we actually offered for this course, and here's the median cutoff we offered. So you can look at this data, and typically it's about a 5 to 10 ATAR point range that exists, which is quite significant. And so you can look at this data to decide, okay, am I actually in the 5 to 10 ATAR point range? Because if you are, there's great news. It means that even though you missed the guaranteed cutoff, you've actually still got an incredible chance and opportunity to get an offer for that course. So the strategy then becomes, if you're in that range, you put down that course that you're still wanting to do, even though your ATAR is below the cutoff, as your number one preference. Because by putting it as your number one preference, you may actually yet get an offer to study this course at the university. It may not be in the first round, but it may be in second or third round, but it's maximizing your opportunity of still getting into that degree. And we've seen this happen with countless students who didn't get the guaranteed entry, but were in the range for that course that prior data showed was would suggest that they would get an offer, and sure enough, they put it as their first preference and got their offer. So that's a huge hope for you, right? So once you've taken that deep breath, look at the ATAR range and then make a decision therefore on what your first preference is going to be. And it could still be to keep that as your first course. So that's the second strategy, but there is a third one that we need to look at as well. So strategy number 3 is, perhaps your ATAR is below that range of 5 to 10. And so you're looking at it and you go, well, you know what? It's no point. I can't put that as a preference. I'm not going to get it. So in that case, what then you need to think about is alternate pathways to get there. And there are so many ways. The first thing is you could look at a similar course at the university that you want to attend, that you can go and do an undergraduate degree for and then transfer within your first or second year. And that's a really common strategy. So many students do that. For example, if you're wanting to do a Bachelor of Commerce and you missed out and you could get into a Bachelor of Business or Economics or Bachelor of Arts, you could go and do that degree, do similar subjects in the course so that then they transfer across to your degree when you get there. Now, of course, to do that, you need to do well at university. You're going to need to typically get at least a credit average in your results, but it's a pathway to get your foot in the door and then transfer. And that's the most important thing, getting your foot in the door. Now, it could be that you've missed out on that as well, and there isn't really an option for you and you really want to go to a university. So in that case, what you can do is also look at pathway providers. So for example, UTS InSearch is a pathway provider for UTS, and all of the other universities have pathway providers as well. And UTS InSearch, for example, enable you to go and study at UTS with UTS lecturers in what's called a foundation course. And that foundation course basically enables you to do a first year with extra support and guidance. And then you actually jump into second year of university straight degree. That's right, so it's like you've missed no time at all. So it's really a fantastic way as an alternate pathway to get you into your dream course and your dream degree and save you a lot of time. So there you have it, guys. They are the 3 strategies that you should be using if you miss out despite doing all of that hard work. Remember, number 1, take a deep breath. Number 2, look at the ATAR range that's required and put your course as your first preference still if you're within the range. And number 3, if that doesn't work as well, what you can look at is you can look at alternate degrees that you can get a foot in the door and transfer, or you can do a pathways program like with an organisation like UTS InSearch. Now, if you have any questions about this, because it can be a challenging process to understand and navigate, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to help you and support you. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We're bringing videos every single week, so I will see you next week.